brings you to Portsmouth? Obviously, you're here brewing with Smutty Nose.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how that came up.
Yeah, so I'm here for a couple of different reasons. I'll combine any one of which would have been enough of an excuse to come out. So the trip ended up starting centered around Savor, which was in New York this past Friday and Saturday. That got me over to the East Coast on a very specific date. And on the way, I stopped in Greenville, South Carolina, to officially and personally award the plaque for the Most Arrogant Bar winner. A place called Barley's. And if you haven't been to Barley's or heck to Greenville, I recommend both. It's a great little town. Cool old brick buildings, but in I guess East Coast style, but not the New England style. So it's got its own different style. But and of course you always find great people when it comes around craft beer. No mystery there.
That's true.
And then my friend Robert Cartwright, who's the manager of the Portsmouth here in town. I knew him in San Diego. He's been managing that property now for about 7 months, and he's turned it into a craft beer focused a hotel. And that guy's as fanatic as all of us. And he wanted me to come out for a beer dinner, and so he basically called and emailed a couple of 2-3 times a day for and then we put together, and then the Smutty Nose collaboration was really kind of going on independently of me personally. It was more our brewmaster Mitch Steele, but hey, as I'm in town, why not make a ceremonial appearance, and of course, from my perspective, get to meet the guys from Smutty Nose. Got to see their new spot, which was really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Got to walk through the old house, the old farmhouse on the property that the restaurant and pub are going into, and I understand is haunted from some sort of child murders. I think one child murdered another or something. I don't know. The rumors are going all over the place, but it is definitely a macabre, a frightening story.
Sounds like New Hampshire.
Yeah, sounds like New Hampshire. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
But Stephen King's Maine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's so scary.
And then coming here, talking with you guys. Well, I could have done that over the phone, I suppose, but it's better in person.
So I mean, not only are you here for that, I mean, so you're doing a meet and greet tonight here.
Yes.
And actually probably 20-30 minutes, but you're getting to see some great craft beer lovers here, and then again at the dinner at the Sheridan, and it's got to be, I mean, at least for Portsmouth, it's pretty cool to see at least a craft beer guy like yourself coming through town and kind of spreading the good word. And obviously a lot of Stone fans here. You're going to find out in a matter of minutes for sure. I mean, we're all drinking Stone right now, but
I'm not.
You're not? Well, hey,
No, I'm drinking some Portsmouth.
Perfect.
The Petit Enfant.
Petit Enfant, nice. So it's called Cluster's Last Stand. It's an IPA. Do you know much about that? Can you speak to? Did you have the last year's batch when it was made?
Yes, I gotten a chance to sample a little. My mental tasting notes remembrance is not not really coming out at the moment.
Yep.
But the fun thing about this beer is the clusters and the fact that they were historically the predominant hop, like by some 90 percentile or 90 plus percentile in the United States. And it's hard to imagine in today's brewing world the idea that all the brewers were using the same hop. And it wasn't, a New Zealand hop edition late and, Pacific Northwest hop edition early and so on. So we think of in terms of craft brewing. Sometimes somebody will say, remind us that we're not reinventing or inventing anything. We're actually reinventing. And it's sort of true and not quite so accurate in that a beer of this historic style, an IPA brewed with all clusters, has been done before. In fact, Mitch and the Smutty Nose guys were working to recreate a version of a Ballantine IPA as closely as possible. but they didn't have all the varieties of malts and hops that we do today. Clearly,
Yeah.
Right.
clearly. And so we can get results in today's beers that you couldn't get. So it's a really nice, interesting throwback. I can't wait to taste the result. The one that was been brewed previously here, I understand. It was here, right?
Yeah, it was.
With Tom. Yeah, I understand that he varied from the recipe a little bit, just with his personal style, which is great. And so this one is more. Try to just recreate that original old recipe.
That, and I think they brewed more, and it's going to be commercial in that they have new label. I don't know if you saw the label for
I
it,
did.
but it's pretty sweet,
Yeah.
and it's going to be actually widely available. So not just Portsmouth and part of California, but it'll be those markets can now get it.
Yeah, but we are going to get some. We're going to
Are
get some
they
of
sending
the
some out there?
first Smutty Nose available in the state of California.
That's
So
awesome.
Cool.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I just had a quick question about how in the last couple of years, I remember at the Craft Brewers Conference you spoke at a few years ago, it was all about brewers collaboration, and you guys do tons of brewery collaborations, about 4 a year probably.
On average, 3 to 4 a year.
Yeah. And it just seems in the last year or two, it seems to take off. There's a lot of legal action between a lot of breweries. You see a lot of cease and desist. It seems like it's going against what the whole craft beer world is, seeing all these breweries sending these letters. I know the latest one is Magic Hat, which is owned by a large company, but you see Victory and Founders and all these other breweries involved in this type of thing. And I'm just wondering, from your standpoint, where it's collaboration and but you have this going on the side.
It's somewhat a function, or maybe not even more than just somewhat, a function of our legal system and how things are set up. And unfortunately, it's not as simple in trademark law as giving somebody permission who might have a conflicting name or logo or something, and you can't say, oh fine, just go ahead and use it your way, and what, we're cool with it because we don't really think it's a conflict. You don't get to enter your own personal opinion into that, because it becomes a legal precedent for that mark, and you've actually now weakened your mark, and weakened for somebody who's actually maybe doesn't have the positive intentions that another small brewer might have. And so that's the reality. I can't comment about any of those particular situations, of course, but, it's a trademark scuffle
Yeah.
here and there does not make the erosion or crumbling of the craft brewing, camaraderie that we largely enjoy.
What catches my attention though, Scott, is like the brewery that does this instantly becomes evil online. There's people, I'm never going to drink that beer again and things like that. I don't think people see it from the other side. From like if
it's the you know what, I've been in line at the airport when a flight's been canceled because of weather or mechanical something, and I've seen people yell at the gate agent who's trying their best to, I am never going to fly this airline again. I am, wagging red face, spittle and wagging fingers, and just trying to force their will of what they want at that moment upon the other person without really realizing sort of realities behind it or paying any attention to the realities behind it. Hey, now we've just taken that collectively online, and the craft beer isn't the exception, right? Craft beer is just, we're victims, frankly, online. People that want to have intelligent conversations online are victims of this trollish, bashing, flaming behavior. So just because somebody somewhere gets on in flames, somebody with and usually they don't really understand, even one side, let alone don't understand both sides.
Yeah.
They're reacting to a sentence or something that sparks them, and bam, I'm going to pop off.
Yeah, shotgun on it on the scene.
Yeah. So the fact that happens in this regard for the trademarks, it's tough when it's being aimed at you, and I get stuff aimed at me all the time. It's tough to just ignore it.
Yeah.
You should, because the people who are supportive or reasonable usually stay out of the conversation because it becomes so unreasonable so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But when you guys started in the mid-90s, was there a form of social media that kind of got in the way of you trying to spread your message? Like, what was the form of, I guess, flames, and were there forums back then? I mean, I don't know if Beer Advocate even was around then, you know what I mean?
That's a youngster question.
Yeah,
How did you communicate?
I know. How was it? Was AOL still around?
Well, I definitely had, dial up.
Well, yeah. No, so
Dial up was the
what,
norm.
what was the haters inbox, I guess, back then for you? Because nowadays you get that.
No, your
tweets.
time online was too valuable for things like haters, and also forums weren't really fully developed. I'm sure that they existed in some smaller microcosm, probably more tech. They didn't show on my radar until probably the early 2000s, and I used to comment on beer enthusiast forums. And I used to be a heavy participant. I loved having the conversation. People would ask a question, I would answer it. I would pose stuff. I would, etc. And I'd chime in on something that had nothing to do with Stone necessarily, but it was just maybe if I could add clarity about some aspect of the craft
I remember
brewing.
seeing you post on Beer Advocate.
All the time. And you might be aware, I don't post on enthusiast forums hardly at all anymore, because a conversation isn't allowed to happen. It just degenerates too quickly, and this isn't me being, too busy, too important, or too anything, but I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And none of us, none of the people that want to have an intelligent conversation can take the time.
Right. Just keep moving forward. I mean, there's too much good out there to even harp on what's, I guess, someone thinks is bad or lopsided or something.
Well, we just let the noisy cranks are ruling, the room.
It's a lot of energy to be angry online, though. I mean, there's a lot missing. Like these people are missing a lot.
Actually, I think that in my personal opinion, it's lack of energy. I think it's laziness.
Sure.
It's
Okay.
very lazy to make an unbalanced, highly biased, inflammatory post. Is I think a lazy man's post.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah.
I work at a newspaper. You can see people waiting at 12:03 when the news stories go on. Be the first person to comment and just rip apart whatever's in the story without reading it. So it's the same thing.
Skim as fast as you can. Right.
Oh my God! Somebody misspelled something on the internet. I must post.
Okay, yeah.
I'm never reading this paper again.
Yes. I'm never flying your airplane again. I'm never flying your newspaper again.
Don't say that too loud. It's a bad
Yeah.
industry right now.
It's a dying industry, but.
Should we get into
But
hotel?
yeah, I mean, that was a little time on, some not quite as positive stuff, but of course we're overwhelmingly positive with what's we're all nodding our heads. We know that, but
Right.
we want the listener to make sure we know that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're all a little bit, curious. I know in the industry, just to get an update on the hotel, how things are going, and what's the plan moving forward. So.
Well, with the hotel, we had to hit the pause button because we literally just had so much going on, and so our resources in time, mental bandwidth, and also our financial resources were focused on the brewing side of the equation, and we just opened our new brewery restaurant as well. So we just last week we bottled for the very first time at the new Stone Packaging Hall, which is adjacent to the brewery. Cue comments online from people saying how the beer has changed and we're not the same as we used to be. We used to suck so bad. I'm kind of joking.
I always compare it when a brewery gets big to like a band getting big. It's only all the original fans. Oh, they sold out now because they're big.
Right. Well, I've said it many, many times, and I will pound my fists on this concrete table. We will never sell out.
Well played.
I will never sell out. Period. You can quote me. I've been quoted before. I say it often enough that, the big guys and such don't even contact me. No problem.
Along with the hotel, I was just wondering, it wasn't one of the original topics, but I was wondering, how about the European brewery? I remember that was a European brewery plan. I haven't heard a lot about that.
Yeah. So it's, I have to jokingly say these days, the talk about it is still an ongoing project. We have been thwarted at every turn in bringing a deal to fruition for us to acquire a piece of what we feel is an appropriate property. We are looking for some rather special characteristics because we do want to do, if we're going to, go so far, right? We want to do something as special as we can. So Unfortunately, I have nothing to announce. We had actually found a property in Berlin that we negotiated on and tried to purchase for literally a year and a half. And it always seemed like it was just around the corner to conclude that deal, and it ended up being just elusive. So, yeah, it's I'm both frustrated by our lack of actually having the show for it. We've visited more than 130 properties in 9 countries in the search. I mean, we've worked hard at it. We've worked very hard, and frankly, we've also spent a lot of money on it, and I'm not giving up.
If you want to change your plans to East Coast, I heard there's a spot opening up in Portsmouth very soon.
I mean,
Yes. Well, I heard that it's actually no longer opening up in Portsmouth because they plan on doing some rather special stuff there. In addition to or different from the already special stuff they do.
super rumor, but that's all. I mean, we like hearing that here in Portsmouth. Is stuff happening in the brewing industry. But keeping on the same topic, Norman just mentioned East Coast. You obviously you're distributed widely over here anyway. Do you see a need to ever come out this way, such a la New Belgium, Oscar Blues,
Sure.
era? I mean, has anyone even asked you?
It's
about
oh, sure, I get asked that all the time because 4 of 2,700 breweries in the United States are doing it. I mean, look at the stats.
Sure,
Right?
Yeah.
When you say it that way, it doesn't seem that significant.
Yeah. Well, but actually, I don't want to suggest it's not significant.
Yeah.
It's actually quite significant. Those breweries are very significant themselves. But we, as I mentioned, just opened the Stone Packaging Hall next to our brewery. We just added last summer a 120-barrel brew house, Code and Seaton, right next to our existing 120. So we have a capacity that we're going to be able to build on in San Diego for some time. So now is not the appropriate time for us to be looking to open, somewhere else in the United States because we're able to supply from our existing place. Well, we're watching. I can't predict these days much more in about a year or two into the future, and even then the prediction starts getting shaky versus the reality that comes to pass. So I can say in the next 2 years, I don't anticipate that we will turn dirt anywhere.
Yeah.
Let's go check the time real quick because I got a huge question that's going to bounce off that. Okay, we're fine. I hope so until they start caving in here. Susan, you can't think upon 2 years, but I'm going to ask to go down the road maybe 25, 30 years.
Sure, I'll do my best.
So
It's crystal ball time.
Yeah,
right?
so, I mean, we're all drinking beer here, so we got to figure this out because I mean, we got a good kind of a situation room here. We might be able to decide this, but Stone has increased. I looked maybe like 17% over the past couple. I mean, 17% consistently past 2 years. Barrel size.
Yeah, actually a little bit more. It would be closer to 20.
So, I don't know if you can keep that rate, but when do you see yourself and or the craft beer community overtake the big guys?
Oh well, if Sam, that was, I think I saw it something like 7 or 8 years ago. He created a very funny little chart showing how that they would be overtaking Anheuser-Busch in the year 2050 or something like that, based upon relative growth curves. But the reality of the world is, you can only continue to grow just so much, and certainly we have an ever-increasing number of breweries who are creating an ever-increasing quality and character range. So I don't think that we can look to the past 10, 15, 20 years of the brewing industry and use that as much evidence for looking forward. Looking forward it's kind of new road every day. It's really fascinating, and it's a great joy to be a part of it. And I am certain we will at Stone will continue to grow for some time, but we're not focused on a particular percentage growth per se, right? So that would end up us trying to, I guess, force it if we were. Instead, we're always just been focused on what we do, right? And then depending on what we do, the growth will respond to that.
Do you see a day where craft beer can kind of be more spread out and accepted, and kind of the better half of the 100%?
Oh, yeah. Well, I see it. I'm afraid I don't see it in my lifetime, although I would love to be, I'm working to prove my statement wrong, my crystal ball on that wrong.
Sure.
We are increasing at an increasing rate as far as awareness, which is a very good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But as long as fast food and major international, national brand sodas and TV dinners and you just go on, as long as these pre-wrapped processed cheese slices and polka dot wrapped breads exist, fizzy yellow beer will exist too. They all exist pretty much on the same tier. Sometimes people want to say that I'm being snobbish when I make those comments. I'm like, no, just look at reality, guys. Come on. This is not an attitude. It's more kind of a fact. These things are not the real versions of anything. They are the industrialized facsimiles of those respective products. And because of pricing, industrialized facsimiles, and also the lowest common denominator of mass acceptance, that's where the term lowest common denominator comes from, right? It means technically the lowest common denominator. It's used as an insult, so it sounds like a judgment, but on a technical level, it's not a judgment. It's a fact.
Right.
Easy to get, cheap, and you can find them anywhere.
You
You go to the convenience store, you grab Wonder Bread, you grab a 6-pack of Budweiser.
I mean, they're in bow tie cans.
Yeah.
So I mean, everything, just imagery is all over the wall. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, the world can largely, especially in food and drink, be broken down into two categories. So the commodity category and the artisanal category. And commodity behaves one way. It's essentially more or less the same thing with different branding, different attributes, via that branding put upon it. And then artisanal gets to actually be different and be unique.
Yeah.
And so we're moving in our country more and more towards the acceptance and understanding of things that would be, in the artisanal world, or you could say organics, or, gastropubs, or, local cheeses and breads. And I mean, I just went to this fabulous place across over Maine. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
They're doing big things over there.
Yeah.
Even the tap list alone, but their food.
This food was great, and I walked into the bakery
the,
shop, and I tried. That's the world I love living in, and so I'm glad that there are places like that are available to me as an enthusiast, as a consumer. Oh God, it's wonderful.
It's awesome. Well, we only have a couple minutes, but you have a new beer that was just, I think, started being distributed today, the Ruin 10.
Yes.
Want to give us a little bit of a talk about that?
You bet. Stone Ruin 10 IPA is a revisit of the Stone Ruination 10th Anniversary IPA, which we released a year ago, June, which was honoring our 10 years of having Stone Ruination IPA out, which was one of the first full-time brewed and bottled double IPAs when we released it now 11 years ago. And, we all loved it so much. Of course, we wanted to come back out with it. We couldn't really call it 10th Anniversary again. But the nickname last year quickly became Ruin 10. Everybody just sort of casually referred to it as Ruin 10. Yeah. So we thought, well, there you go. That's now its sort of permanent name.
Nice. It's available U.S. I mean, you're shipping it out.
And almost all of our territories, awesome. that we cover, and it's wonderful, hugely aromatic, just a little over 10% ABV. IPA. It's just.
I really enjoyed it last year. Didn't last long.
I guess we'll give you a break before your next thing, but we really appreciate you sitting down and talking with us, and we hope we can meet someday in Escondido and do it at the Garden, do it proper.
That works for me, or you can come to our brand new spot, the Stone Brewing World Bistro and Gardens in Liberty Station. Now, San Diego's largest restaurant.
Done.
Perfect. 10-barrel brew house, and we're brewing all sorts of.
What day you get back? We'll get in the car.
Yeah, we'll just road trip it back, and we'll figure it out.
I got some miles. I'll meet you guys.
Terrific. Well, we'll see you there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.